Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. On this episode of Coffee and Van Chats, we chat with one of the most controversial individuals in cycling, and that is Dan Bigham. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, or whatever, please make sure you leave a review as well as hit that subscribe/follow button. Dan Bigham has probably created one of the best team pursuit teams in the world right now. On top of that, he is now working with Denmark as they chase Olympic gold. Dan and I chat everything from the inception of HUUB Wattbike and KGF all the way to their inclusion in the sport with their national teams, as well as winning World Cups and Johnny Whale almost getting arrested. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy. This episode is also sponsored by Beet Root Pro. I've been using Beet Root Pro for quite some time now, and honestly, it's the first beetroot powder that I've ever had that actually tastes well and shakes up well and doesn't leave that clumpy mess in your water bottle or shaker bottle. So be sure to check them out at www.beetrootpro.com. Hey guys, welcome back to Coffee and Van Chats. I'm here with Dan Bigham, who's probably the world's most controversial track cyclist, and I don't know, he might end up being the world's most controversial cyclist by the end of our generation in our era. But yeah, he's ridden with teams, his own teams, HUUB Wattbike, KGF, and probably created one of the fastest team pursuit teams in the world on his own. And it's pretty epic, especially coming from a guy who tried to ride team pursuit and rode really, really slow behind those guys. It was kind of cool to see them do it on their own. And we actually had team funding. So anyways, welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you for having me, John.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So let's dive into it just like right off the rip. You ran a team out of Great Britain, right? Out of the UK. And yeah, it was essentially four guys who didn't get a look from GB. So kind of give me a breakdown of like how all that started and where all that came from.
Sure. So original four was myself, Charlie Tanfield, the younger of the two Tanfields, Jacob Tipper and Johnny Whale. But it literally started myself and Charlie. We were at Derby Velodrome back in late 2016, training towards January 2017 Nationals, just in the IP. Yeah, just see what we can do in the IP, and you're obviously halfway to a team pursuit squad. So the conversation came up maybe November time, and started looking around for a couple more riders. I dragged Johnny in. He was looking for uni, which is right by Derby, and he'd done some pretty outrageous stuff at like the British University champs. So I knew he had gas, and I was like, "Don't worry, mate. You just do a long turn, eject, it's all good."
Yeah.
So he was in, and then Tipper was the one I wanted. Like, it's track riders. I mean, they're common in the UK, but like not to a good level, I guess. There's not like a lot of what is a good level anyway. That's a whole nother question. But anyway, like Typical was one of the guys who was like, he's raced track quite a bit. He's done pursuit in team and individual. Let's get him in. He was over in China doing a stage race. So dropped him a WhatsApp, and he came back. He was like, no, not doing it. I was like,
yeah,
great, mate, we're going to go and like medal. Definitely. It's happening. No, I'm not interested. And they were like, oh, what? So like hounded him for 2 weeks. I was on him and on and on. It was like, mate, it'll be mint. It's a great idea. Like, we're going to go up there. We're going to smash it up. No one's going to see it coming. It's going to be sick. 2 weeks later, changed his mind. He was in. We all came to Derby. I think it was like the first week of January. So we had 4 weeks. 2 sessions a week. We lived on Johnny's hall floors. So literally living in his kitchen, and it had automatic lights. So if anyone got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, it wakes everyone else up. So that was just a bit of a nightmare. But it got us by, right? We were all literally just fresh out of uni, like burnt loads of cash, overdrafts, and all the other stuff, credit cards, just to get through. But went to nationals, won the IP, 1-2, won the kilo, and then we won the team pursuit and beat the national team. So it was pretty outrageous kind of first race.
That's pretty epic, man. I mean, what's funny is like if that happened in the US, all of us would have they would have just flipped us. Like if somebody came in and beat us at nationals, it was game over because we raced. Every race we did was performance based. Like if you're not good here, then boom, you're done. Where it seems like with GB, it was just like, and these guys are great, right? You would say the same thing. They're good, whatever. But if they get beat, there was always an excuse for you guys of why you guys didn't get an opportunity, which just kind of, it was very interesting to me. I mean, I remember hearing your podcast with Pod Crash, and kind of listening to a bit of that and getting an idea and a feel on that. But that was interesting. So now,
with the whole UCI coming out and making a claim that, you know, trade teams aren't welcome, I've also recently heard that there's a possibility they might come back. Have you heard anything on that, or what's your thoughts on that? Because I think I was listening to Teo Boss talk about it.
Yeah, it changed last week. End of last week. They put out a load of updates, and yeah, basically they've changed their mind. Trade teams are allowed back. There's a limitation on number of trade teams per nation, but you're allowed to basically do every race. So,
Yeah.
you'd know, like, if you're a trade team, you could only do any non-Olympic events if the national team had rocked up. So, like, we couldn't enter Madison or the Omnium or any of those kind of races. So, it kind of limited you to what you were doing, which is team pursuit. And if you wanted to, you could have a go at sprints. I mean, we never did, but maybe we should have done. But yeah, they've changed that back, and we can go and do everything. But we're in a bit of a bad situation now that because of, well, them deciding 12 months ago that wasn't going to be the scenario, and we've gone on as if that's not going to happen. Then obviously you make plans. Like you need to make plans in the future, whether you're going to ride on the road or do something different. But now you're in the situation where they're like, okay, great. The entry deadline's 5 weeks time. So if you want to register a trade team, let us know. It's like, well, what the hell? Like, how do you go about figuring that? So yes, it's a bit of a headache, but I mean, it's great personally, and across the board. I think for the sport, it's awesome. Like getting rid of trade teams was the stupidest thing they ever did.
I
so
agree.
at least they've realised their flaws and actually gone back and improved it, which is even better. But it's just all a bit late in the day, so we need to figure it out. But then who knows what the track season's like this winter, and maybe we just have a year out of it and come back. Who knows?
Yeah. Honestly, the coronavirus might actually help in the sense of like giving you guys some time. So yeah, and then after all that, you rock up to Worlds, and it was kind of secretive. I like how you guys do your things where it's just like you make it way bigger of a secret than it needs to be, like almost to a point where it's like you guys are like just trying to put this big show on, and it's great because it's like you rocked up to Worlds with Denmark. Like, how did that relationship even start, and how many cold shoulders did you get from GB?
So the relationship, yeah, man, it was such a fun few days. Like some real fun memories of that time in Berlin, for a number of reasons. So the relationship with Denmark, I mean, we've always had good relationship with them, full stop, since we started back in like 2017. They're just one of those, like, obviously you guys have always been like super keen and interested in what we do. The Danes were. The Kiwis a little bit as well. So you always you get on well with certain nations, and then some don't. I mean, like, you'll know some nations just ignore you and just don't care. Who are you? Not interested. Yeah. It's really weird. So I guess, yeah, you make friendships and then you end up chatting, and yeah, with one of them, it was just a case of we got flicked by the UCI for the whole trade team stuff. So I started making plans. I dropped them a message and said, look, guys, like, you're going pretty outrageous. I'm keen to help you out. We've learned a lot over the years. I think you could go even faster. Do you have a role? Like, even if it's like part-time or consultancy, whatever, I want to see you guys do well. So yeah, I had a couple of sort of chats with them and flew over to Denmark, and yeah, we're keen. Budget's not really all that big. It's like, don't worry, I'm used to that. Let's roll. And it all kicked off properly in earnest at Glasgow World Cup. The deal was, from the moment that we don't race each other at World Cups, then I'm all in. So that was when they beat us in the rounds in Glasgow. They did like a 48 or something, as they were doing every day.
Yeah.
Back then. So that's when it started, and then went all the way through to Berlin. And yeah, I made a bit of an impact with them, but I think on the whole, they're just an outrageous team doing really well, and everything's starting to fall into place for them. And they've always been there or thereabouts in the Olympics, but they've never been GB or Australia level. And then to go to Berlin and just do what they did was, yeah, putting a marker down.
Yeah, well, I mean, hell, like Worlds this year was almost tipped over on its head. Like the top five. I mean, what, Australia and GB barely even saw the top five. I don't even think they were, like, you know what I mean? So like, you literally just took two of the best nations, and they're out of it. And I mean, there had to be a bit of panic. There had to be a sense of panic. And as you said before, with just the fact that, you know, Denmark was doing Denmark things before you came on. And then when you came on, it was just like, bam, just eking out little bits of time. So are you being contracted to work for them for the Olympics as well, or?
Yeah, so my original contract was through to Tokyo 2020, and they've extended it to Tokyo 2021.
That's awesome.
Which, Yeah, it's wicked. I mean, personally, I thought we were all ready for Tokyo straight off the bat. I want to go now.
Yeah.
So those 12 months, I wouldn't say we don't need them, because you always use them, but like I think we were happy with where we were, and we're really looking forward to it. But yeah, we're back to the drawing board on a few things and trying to do things better with another year in our hands. And yeah, they're just a fun team to be with, and they just really love it. They're really progressive. They're keen for new ideas, doing things a little bit differently, and yeah, just buying into the science, buying into the engineering and the maths, and just going for it. And yeah, they really put a mark down. And like you were saying, just when you've got GB in Australia who are battling out for GB weren't even, like you say, got into the medals finals. They were a 350. They're still haven't broken 350, and I think there's 8 nations now. 7, 8 nations have gone under the 50 mark. So they're a little bit way off right now. I don't know quite what's happening on the inside. You hear stories of this is happening, that's happening, and to be honest, not my problem. They do what they want to do. We'll rock up in Tokyo, and yeah, fastest team wins.
Okay, and so was it an ego trip that they didn't slide into your inbox and be like, "Hey, man, like, how long's your contract?" Or have they slid into your inbox already and been like, "Hey, what's going on?" No, nothing.
It's a long. It's not actually. It's not all that long. We'll give the quick plot synopsis. 2017-18, me and Charlie trial after breakthrough season with KGF.
Yeah.
I don't fit the system. Charlie's been there before. He was there as a youth. They booted him off when he was double national champion because he didn't fit. He's a Tanfield. He loves doing weird stuff. He's great. So yeah, he knows how to play the system. I go in and I'm just inquisitive me. I'm asking questions. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? We thought about doing this. What about trying this differently? And it just doesn't fit in their system. You have to be a yes man. You turn up, you train, you go home, you don't ask questions. So that didn't fit too well. And I got pretty annoyed by the whole system and the selection of you can go as fast as you want. You can have the fastest flying map, the fastest kilo, fastest IP, and you're just not given the opportunities. And I was like, this is bullshit. Yeah. And then, yeah, I didn't get selected for Worlds for the team pursuit. I was like, why? And then I went to the Commie Games and didn't get a ride in the team pursuit there. I was like, well, I'm kiloing as fast as the fastest kilo guy in the team. I'm IPing faster than all the GB guys other than Charlie. Why am I not getting a ride here? It was just, yeah, it really pissed me off. But went on, obviously, to then set up, KGF became HUUB Wattbike, and that went on. And I think the relationship soured after that. I just don't quite see eye to eye with a few people within GB, which, yeah, is a bit frustrating in a way. I don't get the opportunities that probably I want or need as an athlete. Yeah. But so I've gone and found my own way to go and achieve cool stuff, and obviously had some good results as a trade team, and then representing GB on the road in the team time trial with John and Harry, and that's been pretty cool. And then obviously, yeah, found my way with Denmark, and it's good fun. And it's a shame, yeah, that I'm not. I do enjoy being. I like Britain. I like representing my country, and I feel it's a bit of a shame to not be able to fly that flag, and that we've felt disowned or rejected by them for I don't know what reason. It's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, it's one of those things where, like I said, man, I've heard the stories of the offers that you've gotten from other countries of just what will it take for you to just become Botswanian or whatever, or whatever nation has reached out to you. So what has been the biggest offer that you've gotten from another nation?
Well, I guess we've never taken it that far because it's always been it wouldn't work ahead of the Olympics. I mean, if you knew coronavirus, if you had that crystal ball, coronavirus is happening, you could probably wangle it. But because they didn't really come about until we had good successes HUUB Wattbikes the second year, but then you're within the Olympic qualification cycle. Yeah. So you've been on the bad receiving end of that if you don't get enough points, it's game over. And imagine trying to get all those points in one season. It's just, not going to happen. Yeah. So it was one of those, it's really cool. It's really nice, but it's not going to happen for Tokyo. And I'm not hanging about for another 4 years on the track after that. I'm all in for this, and let's see where we go. So, there were some interesting ones, though. We'll go with that. You have to have some questionable morals and ethics. Change nationality to some of the nations. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like I said, I was listening to one of the pod crashes from Shane Archibald. Because I mean, not Shane Archibald.
John.
No, not John Archibald. Shane Perkins. I don't know where I'm mixing.
Oh yeah, mixing them up. Yeah, because he
mixing
went to
them up.
Russia, didn't he?
Yeah. So he went to Russia, but the story behind it, that actually did him justice. Like me hearing that story, like made a lot of sense. And if you haven't listened to that already, you got to check that out. But there's like, it's actually a pretty decent story where it's like, I'll never have another opportunity, and I really want to go to the Olympics. You know, that my dad went to the Olympics in Tokyo, so I want to be at the Olympic Games where my dad. You know, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, so I'm looking at your background, and I've heard these stories of the crazy houses that you live in just from Ashton, and that doesn't look like a house that has like 6 dudes in it. So are you guys not all living together right now, and what's going on?
No, this one isn't. No. So I guess, well, yeah, the end of the road was Bolivia in May, and then Corona happened, and we had our house until I think it was the end of May or end of June, something like that. But the budget was not going to stretch for another 6 months of just a load of guys bumming about in a house through till whenever we end up going up to altitude. So unfortunately, yeah, we've had to go to the Four Winds, and John's back in Glasgow. Kyle's in God knows where he lives, somewhere in like the Outer Hebrides, I don't even know. And Will's down in Loughborough with his girlfriend, and Johnny's got a house in Manchester. So we're all kind of spread out a little bit at the moment. But yeah, over the past few years, we've lived in an eclectic mix of locations.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, because there's like a story of like your house getting broken into, right? At one point, like before World Cup or something like that. What's that story?
Yeah. 3 times actually we got broken into.
3 times?
3 times. Yeah, I know. So the first one, it was just before our first World Cup, going to Poland. So was it before Poland? Or was it Minsk? No, it was before Minsk. Sorry, you get it right. Yes, that would have been January 2018. We just come back from the track session. We bought all our track bikes back because we were about to pack them all up and get on the road. I remember it really well what happened. I'd got a lift back with Tipper, and Charlie had driven it back with Johnny, but instead of pulling into the drive, he blocked the drive off, which is like really random. So Tipper had to like park behind him. If he pulled into the drive, he would have scared all the robbers who were in the sheds. They'd literally broken into the garage, and we just pulling bikes, wheels, frames, anything that's in the garage straight out over the wall into the neighbour's garden, and then out that goes into like a public park. But because Charlie hadn't pulled into the drive and flooded all the garage up, no one saw it. So I would go walking into the house, la-di-da-da, and then all I hear is Tipper shouting, "Run!" I'm like, why am I running? So I run out. It's like, we've been broken into. I was like, oh, balls. So we run around the house to get back into the garden of the neighbour in the park, and they were literally jumping over there, carrying like bike frames and everything. You're like, oh God. They drop a load of the frames, but like Tipper's bike's gone, my bike's gone. So that was anyway the first break-in. You're like, well, at least we got our track bikes. We can go to the World Cup. That's all sound. Obviously, went to Minsk. It was awesome. Won. Really good experience. Came back. Literally at the time, it's like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was on eBay in the car, just like trying to find my nick bike. I was like, it's gonna come up on eBay. We're gonna get it. And then I thought I'd found it, and was really like positive. Got back to the house, back door had been kicked in. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake! So
like anyway, within a week.
Within a week, we moved away.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, whole house turned upside down, and yeah, I mean, actually, nothing really got nicked as far as we could tell, which is really random. But I reckon they legit thought we were drug dealers. So I've got black Audi, sits at the front, which is like classic supposed drug dealer car in the UK, and then they'd broken into the garage and seen, which is probably like a bit funny, but so I had 3 ultrasonic baths for cleaning chains and waxing chains, which obviously look a bit dodgy with a load of dodgy chemicals, loads of clear little Ziploc bags, and then Charlie's got like a 2-kilo bag of white powder because he'd been plaster casting his feet because he was making his own shoes. So obviously you just break into the garage, you're just like, drug dealers. They're drug dealers. So he just must have broken in trying to steal our stash or something.
Who knew you were the bike racing drug dealer? I mean, I guess in theory, when it comes to extensions, I mean, I have a set. I mean, Teo Boss has tried out a set. Like Ashton Lambie. I mean, yeah, it's like everyone's a bike racing drug dealer. Waxing chains in the infield. Oh man, wow.
Yeah. So that was the second one. The third one was we just got back from Comedy Games later that year, and Johnny had left his bike by the lounge window, which was one of those like big glass doors. And then like 5 a.m. in the morning, bricked through the window, and his bike got pulled out and gone. Game over. That was that. That wasn't too bad, but so that meant we all lost a bike.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's almost like you needed to be on the team, which is why Ashton probably wasn't fully on the team and he was a full trader. He never actually got his bike stolen from your house.
We could have nicked it. I mean, he's lost a bag of clothing, actually. I still don't know where it is. So Ned, our manager, chucked it in the post and it got sent back because Ashton stashed a load of whiskey in it and then it got rejected by customs. And then since then we've lost it. And he's lost like a load of stuff, I think.
Well, I remember him telling me a story about him getting some pockets put on his skin suit. And he like sent them over and he declared how much they were worth. And so when they saw how much they were worth, they were just like, oh, well, you owe us like $3,000 then in taxes to get these back over. And he was just like, well, I guess those skin suits are sitting in customs. Yeah, just to get the pockets done or whatever.
Nice. Yeah, you've got to be really careful on customs. Yeah, don't do that. Play the system.
Yeah. Oh man, I have my own, like I had to go pick up helmets in Minsk in customs. And I literally thought I was going to end up in a prison camp or something. Like it was insane. Belarus was a wild time in its own right, just to get through things, much less, picking up helmets in customs.
Johnny got arrested there, actually.
Really? And he still lives to tell the story. What did he do?
He jaywalked. Literally, that was it.
And so what did that turn into?
Coppers grabbed him, floored him, chucked him in the back of the car. He obviously doesn't speak a word of Belarusian, not a chance. He's just like, please, guys, I'm a cyclist, like swinging his medal. And in the end, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, cyclist. Yeah, okay, you're okay. You're allowed out. But it was literally,
that's insane. Because like that was like one of the things with me when I was dealing with them in customs. It was like they were almost aggravated that I didn't know Belarusian, but they knew English, and they weren't willing to speak it with me. And I was like, oh, okay, this isn't good.
Google Translate is your friend, literally on the app the whole time.
Yeah. So what's the craziest Johnny story? Because I met Johnny, I guess I met him in Glasgow because I guess that's when you guys, Ashton had already spent some time with you guys, so you guys were a little bit more comfortable coming and hanging out. But when I met Johnny, dude, he was 100 miles a minute. He would just say whatever was on his mind at that current moment in time, in the pit, half naked, just walking around. He's wild, man. So what's your craziest Johnny story besides the fact of him almost getting arrested in Belarus? That you can tell on this podcast.
I just think the guy is just batshit crazy, but in a good way. Like I think it's good for morale that he just does weird stuff. I think to get a handle on who he is as a person, everyone needs to go on our website and watch back the documentary from the first year. Yeah. And you see the personalities and just what he's like. I mean, it's silly things like when he broke his collarbone and because he was like doing mad starts and then came back, he was racing 6 weeks later, and then he snapped his ACL in the gym trying to do mad partial squats, like 420 kilos or something crazy. And just like, why are you doing this stuff? But he just, I guess, loves playing up to the crowd, jumping into like VIP in every single World Cup, pissing off organisers, saying outrageous things in interviews that he probably shouldn't say. I mean, if you watch back London World Cup when we won, live on the BBC, and like, I can't exactly remember what he was going to say. It was something about GB, and you're just like, as much as like we love poking fun at them, don't go on national television and like slate them. So he starts saying something, and all you see, because John's got his arm around him, he's John his hands, so he didn't cover him. You know full well he's sticking his foot in it. Yeah, big stuff. And it's just stuff like that. He just loves to be controversial. Just say it how it is. I got a lot of time for that. A lot of people who just toe the party line. It's boring. It's like, be true to yourself and say it how it is and do what you want to do and enjoy it. And yeah, it does mean walking around the pits. And like, for example, at Derby, and this was a really random one. It nearly probably stopped us in our tracks in like the early days. So there's a rule that you have to have your top covered in track centre.
Oh yeah, he's never had his top covered.
Yeah, never had his top covered. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember exactly how this went. I think he'd had like a terrible track session. He just hadn't gone well for whatever reason. And I was chatting away with a guy who's basically head of the local council, the county council for like sport. So I was having a good chat with him, and like some kids had come in with a teacher to do like a track session or something. But because kids are around, it's like top's got to be on. And the teacher like shouted at Johnny, like, tops on the D. And he just turned round and it was like F's and blinding of like, you and fuck this. And I was just like, oh God, what's he done? He's just like gone in on some random teacher
with kids, just like
with kids everywhere. I know, and I'm there with like the guy who controls whether we get like free access to the track or not. I'm just like, oh God, this one's going to take some digging to get out of. And then after that, what we went down the route of, we all had pink mesh vest tops. So it was like you had your top out, you were covered, even though it was like nipples poking through and everything, but like it ticked the box and we couldn't get shouted at again. I think Harry still has that. He uses it as a base layer. I don't think he's realised it was a bit of a joke, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Bolivia, man, you guys were going to go shatter some world records and you probably were going to do it. Like actually you were going to do it. What's happening with that? Is it still on the table? Is it still in the talks?
Yeah, it's obviously a weird one. I guess with everybody, like plans get frozen, halted, changed. You don't really know how to plan. We were super lucky with the Bolivians. They all wanted cash in hand. Yeah. So when Corona struck, it was kind of, well, as much as everything's booked, we still got the cash in the bank, so we can push it back and sort of hold fire on it. But the big unknown is how we get everyone together and prepare as well as we had done. We'd done 3 altitude camps. I mean, we were up in Tenerife at altitude when the lockdown came in Europe, and that really screwed us over. And I mean, getting out of lockdown itself was hard enough, and then you come back and you really realise that Bolivia's not going to happen in 2 weeks' time because the whole world's going to be shut down. So yeah, the budget's there. People are still keen. It's just when, how, all the organisation that goes into it. I mean, we were pretty set. It'd been a lot of work of getting commissaires and anti-doping and timing and all the other logistical nightmares that go with putting an event on, alongside trying to prepare to break a load of world records in itself isn't obviously easy.
Yeah.
So it was, I think we're in a really good spot for it to happen there and then it's hard to get that momentum back, which is why I'm kind of, hesitant to put a date on it. As it stands in Bolivia, it's not open, available. We can't go in. Their quarantine zone is at the track. So if you've, if you're going into quarantine, you're literally in the track accommodation block. So we've got to wait for that to kind of clear up and return to some normality before we can even go there. So yeah, it's just in holding pattern really. Everyone's back training, doing their own thing and targeting their own races. And like, I'm keen for an hour record at sea level just for a bit of fun. But it's one of those of like, it'll happen when it'll happen, and we've just got to wait for normality to return and then just hit it full gas with like 4 weeks notice and just see what we can do. It's probably not going to be the same event that we wanted and hoped for, but you've got to try it and give it a go. And like I said, budget's still there, so it'd be silly not to go up and see what we can do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what events was everybody going to do? I know Ashton was going to do the IP, and he would mention the hour record and then immediately quit talking about it and like be like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. And then he'd be like, oh, I'm going to do it. So like, what events were you guys thinking you guys were going to do?
He was definitely doing it.
Was he? Yeah.
Mate, if he's coming up, I'm forcing him on that start line. So the only thing we really cared about, I guess, was team pursuit. Like, we're a team pursuit team. We want to create a record. That was the plan. We came back with one. That was the one we wanted. And we prepared. We had 2 teams. So we had a team to ride against. You obviously have the draft benefit where whether you catch them or not, second team on the track is worth a second and a half, 2 seconds on a good day. So we knew that a second team that was capable of riding 6 seconds slower than us, worst case scenario was the big one. So we had all that lined up. They had all their bikes, their positions were dialed. They were training together in Derby as well. So we were all pretty set.
So it was another team from Derby.
Yeah.
Wow.
HUUB Wattbike B team. We nicknamed. No one wants to be called the B team, so they were nicknamed the Wildcats.
Oh yeah, the Wildcats. That's way better than the B team.
Yeah.
pink mesh base layers and the Wildcats. So yeah.
Yes.
Right
So
on.
I mean, they were strong. They got bronze at the nationals in the UK with I think like a 402, 403, something like that. So they could have gone pretty quick up at altitude, and obviously we had chucked a load of kit and a bit more technology at them, and they were going pretty rapid. So yeah, team pursuit was the big one, and then the plan was to do day on, day off, day on, day off, day on for the competition. So you could race, recover a bit, rather than, I mean, you know what a World Cup's like. If you try and do 2-3 days back to back, by the third day you're on your knees, and you aren't breaking the world record then.
For sure, yeah.
Unless you're Filippo Ganna, but anyway, that's a whole other story. So yeah, the plan was to do that. So the second day of competition was the IP, and literally all of us were keen for that. Obviously, we all do IPs all the time, so it's one of those opportunities of like, let's go all out and see what happens. But then there's a bit of discussion around strategy, who rides against who to maximise the chance of a catch, because everyone still wants to ride a fast time, so everyone still wants to get a catch. But it was just figuring that one out, and then the hour was the icing on the cake, as it were. I was keen for a go. John was keen for a go. Kyle was keen for a go. Ashton was not keen for a go, but he was definitely going to do one.
Yeah.
So it's just like, we're up there once. Anti-doping's there. Timing's there. The track hire's there. Commissaire's there. Just do it. Go for it. See what you can do.
Worst comes to worst. Yeah, you don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, like, altitude. Ashton would roll around and do something silly anyway. You know what he's like. I know he paced it horrifically, but yeah.
Yeah, he's a wild man. I know when we went to Bolivia the first time, when we were chatting, he was like, I think I could go under 4 minutes. And the pace that he went out in that first 2K, I was just like, Jesus Christ, you might go 355 if you hold on to this, man. Yeah. Like, at this point. So what times do you think those boys would have done, like, John or you or Ashton in the 4K? Like, you think there would have been 2 times under 4 minutes?
Yes. At least? Yeah, I was pretty confident 4 could get broken. I mean, like, Ashton's shown he's 403 now at sea level.
Yeah, I mean, 403 at sea level, and that was, I mean, after he took some time to just decompress, I think, mentally from Team USA in the sense of what was going on there. He put his heart and soul into it, and I don't think anybody gives him enough credit for that. It's like, if we were going to the Olympics, it was because of his help and because of his knowledge. I mean, the dude was doing 10 lap pulls, like, and giving us all the knowledge he could give us. And it was just a matter of, could we put it together? And so yeah, I definitely stand by that.
Yeah, he was keen. You could see that he wanted it. And like you say, he was putting his heart and soul into it. And when it doesn't come off, then yeah, you've probably got a lot of firepower to go and prove yourself individually. And I think that's what Berlin showed. So if he was knocking out 403 at sea level, and at the time, I think when he did his 405 at altitude, he was knocking out 410s-ish at sea level. So he's got about 5 seconds in his pocket. So there's every reason he'd go sub 4.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of it. And if the stars align in the case of, like, okay, there's no pressure on having to go through rounds, do a second riding against some outrageous guy. It's just you start when you want to start. You ride against who you want to ride. You do everything you want to do as you want to do it. No pressure, just perform. Then I think that could be a pretty good environment for him to do something outrageous. And yeah, obviously John and him have been neck and neck at IPs for the past few years. So I'm pretty sure John would probably go 7-4. And I guess the wild card is Johnny and what he would have done, because he was only a second off John in the IP at Nationals. Johnny knocked out 413, which is pretty outrageous. But from all our test data at altitude, Johnny was the most immune. He was losing like 2% or something. So he was on the cards to do something pretty outrageous. Yeah. I guess he's probably the most frustrated by that, because he could have gone up there and really done something silly.
So, I mean, because one of the guys that I really saw crack into the British team was Johnny, like, early on. It seemed like Johnny was getting an opportunity, at least from my eyes first. And it might just be because of the outrageous things that he was doing early on where he would just peel off. But what happened there with him and riding with GB? Because it was like he went to Commonwealths and he actually did okay in the kilo.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all an interesting situation, I guess, in the whole relationship. So John and Johnny have both done commie games. John obviously did well in the IP, and Johnny in the kilo. And I think historically, GB have looked at our strategy of the peel off as, I mean, you guys love calling it the peel off. We call it the eject.
The eject.
The eject. They've just looked at it disapprovingly, I guess. Whereas now they probably go, that's probably a good idea to have a bit of a sprinter in and utilise him that way. And he's done well in World Cups and kilos, but they're now, I think they're eyeing him back up again towards Tokyo and realising that's probably what they need in their squad. They need someone like that. And he's Aero, he gets it, he's established, he can do a fast IP, he can do a fast kilo. And Actually, he's never got around a team pursuit. There's one
Wow.
for you. Yeah,
There,
ever.
wow. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so and he's probably one of the most pivotal parts of your team pursuit.
Yeah,
Here,
usually.
like yeah. So like, not only has he, because that was a big thing for us. Like when we first started, it was always like all 4 have to finish. Everybody's have to finish, or then we'll just throw somebody else in who's faster and better. And me being a bigger dude and the amount of power that I had to produce to sit behind Ashton, it's like I'm just wasting juice just to sit behind Ashton. And especially after he went to Barbados camp and became like a little ball. Like, it was actually funny, and I'm probably gonna get so much flack from the guys, but in the sense of how much arguing happened, where Ashton, you need to be less Aero. That was an argument that actually happened like in the infield, and it was like, oh shit, this is about to happen. This argument is actually like, that's like, Ashton, you need to be slower. Like, can you slow down a little bit, please, so we can actually get around the track? And it's like, fuck, this is actually happening. It's wild. So it's interesting, like, kind of hearing it from both sides of like, oh yeah, he's never even finished team pursuit, but he's probably the most pivotal part of our team pursuit, where it's like, on our side, we're like trying to find guys who could only finish the team pursuit and do that time.
I think it just takes a paradigm shift in how you think about the event, because the whole fact is you need to finish with 3. You don't need to finish with 4. If you finish with 4, that's an inefficiency. You've not maximized your potential. Simple as that. So it's just taking that approach. And then as well, I think the culture of the team, that we aren't infighting of like, well, you didn't get around that effort. It's like, well, actually it doesn't matter, because that was the whole point. But because I think a lot of it comes down to how our team's structured and the dynamic of that we don't have a coach like you do, where you have a coach calling the shots and saying, do this, do that, do the other. And we're going, we think we should do this, we should try that, we should look at the other, and just trust the data. At the end of the day, the numbers come out. You look at the analysis from the session, you say it worked or it didn't work. And we're not just going to go and boot a guy off the squad because, he didn't get around an effort. When you look at the physiology, it's like, well, why would you? And yours is a great case in point that you're probably quite similar to Johnny. You're pretty anaerobic. Why would you ever try and get you around the line? Why wouldn't you maximize your potential on the front? If you're sitting in the line burning up, that's energy that you're not using to make the team go faster.
Yeah, and we try. It's funny because it's like you guys practiced it for so long, and it was almost like overnight. It was like, we'll never do that. We'll never do that. Ashton kept like pitching the idea, and eventually, like, we would come to go in our hiding hole, and then one day we showed up in Poland. And it's like, this is what we're doing, and it was just like overnight. We're just going to try to make the team. All 2 years of training and thought process of, no, we're never going to do this, to now we're doing this. We have no choice, and it's like, okay. And we botched it, honestly. I mean, because it was just like nobody really understood how it felt or how it should feel. Because like either the person behind me would be like, is it slowing up, or are we just sitting at a pace? And you know what I mean? Or is it like, because that's not how they're used to feeling, sitting in line by lap 4.
It's such an odd sensation at first, and when you ride a different strategy, it feels weird. It feels alien, and because it's different, you associate different with slower or harder. Whereas you just need to accept that you have a fixed amount of energy, pretty much, you've got to use. You need to maximize the team speed with that amount of energy. If that means longer turns, less changes, one guy doing a long turn and blowing off, then that is what it is, and you just need to practice it. And it feels weird. I mean, if you look back to Charlie, he was doing. This was back in Minsk when he was riding for us, so 2018. I think he started man 3, but I only did a lap from man 1, and then I sat on the back. So he then did 5.5 laps, sat on Johnny, then a 4-lap pull, then sat on while I did my turn. Tipper rolled through for a half lap, and then he did a 2-lap to finish. So he's doing 6-lap pull plus 6 laps effectively on Johnny. It was like, the guy's a hero.
Yeah, that's insane.
But it just, you have to accept that it feels different. And like you said, is it slowing up? That's probably the biggest one. You've got to make sure you don't slow. And that's Johnny's biggest, I guess, stressor, that he doesn't park it. Because if you park it, the rest of the squad's done for. And your strategy's wasted effectively. So you pull off probably before you actually really blow up, because you don't want to ever slow down.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to feel out too. Like when you're loading up like that and you're still trying to put out speed, it's actually shocking how much more speed that you're putting out that you don't even realize, or it's shocking how much not speed you're putting out and you don't even realize, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, Kyle struggled with it a bit. We put him in for the rounds in Glasgow, and he just paced it pretty poorly. And yeah, I guess for him it was frustrating. I mean, for all of us to not make it through to the final in your home World Cup, and we had the absolute potential to get a medal there. Yeah, it was pretty disappointing. It's heartbreaking, really. It's probably one of my biggest frustrations of the season to not make that final. But yeah, it was just pacing, execution on that. He didn't have enough experience, didn't know what his legs should feel like at the end of lap 1, lap 2, lap 3. And if you know that sensation, then you can adapt your pacing towards it. But if you're just going out and going, right, 5 laps, go, it's not easy.
Yeah, not at all. And I mean, because that was the thing too, is like we went from like, hey, you need to do 5 laps to, hey, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do like 4 to 4.5 to 5, like figure that out, like whatever you can do. And every track's different. Every sensation's different, you know, every feeling's different. And so trying to figure out that was interesting, but hey, I don't want to hold you up too long. I do want to get one more thing though. We kind of heard about, you know, you're working a little bit with Denmark. You're trying to put this team together. I feel like you're a man that's just like a jack of all trades. Like you're wearing a hat and everything. Like you're the business guy while also the party dude of the team. What's your athletic ambitions now with the fact, okay, now we know that the trade teams are back. And you know, you still have an opportunity at these world records. Like where's your athletic, you know, side and ambitions lie?
Good question. I think because of the COVID situation, I've not thought massively far ahead. I've just thought, how can I maximize my time in lockdown? And I've done quite a bit around making myself a better time trialist, because until last week, I didn't think trade teams were a thing again. So I was just like, right, I'm going on the road. I want to do individual time trials, like Contravans Nations, the Conti Champs, World Champs, team time trials, and then have a go at the hour record, all that kind of stuff. I was like, we'll go full gas for that, right? I've never had the opportunity to put everything, my heart and soul, into being selfish, because I've always had to, well, wanted to obviously, but I've always felt that to support the team, you've got to focus on everybody's performance and how they're dealing with it and their equipment and all the fun side of dealing with like sponsorship and logistics and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I can shelve all that and just be selfish for once and see how I can do it individually. So that was my ambition. But I think with trade teams being allowed back, I'd be keen to have a go at some individual stuff at World Cups, because we've only ever done the team pursuit, and if we don't have a strong squad together to live and train as you need to, and you know full well that if you don't commit to a team pursuit, you're not going to win. Simple as that.
Sure.
You've got to have four guys who put their heart and soul into it. So I can't see that happening. So, but I'm pretty keen to see what we could do, maybe like at IPs or kilos or bunch racing, and mix it up a little bit. But we'll just see what the lay of the land is when the UCI come back with, well, this is the calendar and this is the deadline and all that kind of stuff. And maybe, skip a season, come back to it in a while, and maybe have a bit of time on the road, see what we can do there. And somehow ram Bolivia in the middle and break a few world records. There's always ambitions, but I think just for now, be a bit more selfish.
No, well, it is super inspiring to see, because I don't think people really recognize how much not only you've put into this team, but a lot of other things, like and you've been super selfless to get a lot of these things off the ground. So even bringing Ashton over, like that was a huge help to even us. So it's super cool to kind of get that feedback and see that and chat about that. But other than that, just want to thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And guys, if you haven't already, I will put a link down to all those HUUB Wattbike documentaries down in the description below, and be sure to check that out. But thanks again, Dan. I appreciate it, man.
Cool. Thank you for having me. Enjoyed it. It's awesome.
Right. Cheers.